All right, Predators, today we're going to defy the odds and we're going to shoot 150 yards with no peep sight. Stay tuned. And guys, let's get it.
Nope.
What's going on, Predators? Travis here again. Thanks for coming outdoors with me today. If you like these videos, then hit the like button there and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Really appreciate it. So today we're going to be talking about doing a peepless setup on your bow, and for me personally, how doing that saved archery for me. So a little background on this. So whenever I first started shooting, and one of the things that I struggled with was
target panic.
Your panic, target panic.
About target panic, target panic, target panic.
Let's talk a little bit about target panic.
that I'm lining up my peep to the housing of my bow sight, and then making sure that that pin is lined up on the target. It's not too different from shooting a rifle, right, where you've got a rear sight and a front sight that you line up and put on the target. But whenever you're holding back 60 or 70 pounds, it could change a lot. You're just all of a sudden those couple things that are in your head just get compounded, and it seems much more complicated. So I've been searching for a way to make this whole process a lot easier for myself, and the way that I found to do that is to go without a peep sight. So what does this fix in there? So basically it takes one of these things out of the equation. When you're shooting a bow, you've got a few anchor points, okay? So the first anchor point that you're usually going to have is with your release or your release hand to your face. Whether you're using the knuckles in the back for like a back tension or a thumb release, or you're using, like me, I use my thumb here to point right here on my jawline. Whatever anchor you use, that's usually the first one that you touch to your face, okay? So I draw back. First thing touches my face is my thumb to my jawbone. And then next, I would put my nose on the string somewhere, right? And what that does is that creates an anchor for my face to the string, okay? And then the next one, usually whenever I was shooting a peep, is the visual anchor point of using the peep sight to the sight itself. So basically with those and my hand on the bow, I've got 3 points of contact on that bow, so I can make sure that I'm consistent from one shot to the next. With the peep sight though, having that is like almost like a visual anchor point, right? So it's something that I look through to see to the target. So whenever I wanted to go peepless, the first thing I did was I had to make sure that I had something on my bow that made sure my anchors were consistent, okay? And the thing that ended up fixing this for me was to make sure that I had a nose button. Basically a nose button is just a consistent anchor point that you can use that touches your nose, so that you know that the string is making contact with your face in the same position from one shot to the next. This is one here that I designed and 3D printed myself. You can see it's got the little Apex Predator Outdoors logo. Before that, I was shooting this one, which I got a few samples of here. So the first one I was using was this right here. This is the Bomar Archery nose button. And you can see whenever it's in this profile here, it's got a bunch of these little points, right? And I really like this. This is a great way to start. They have a big one and a small one. This is the smaller, or the larger one here. And basically what this does is this goes on your string, and then whenever you draw, it touches your nose, right? And the idea behind this one is that those little spikes on there, make sure that you don't put too much pressure with your nose on the string. So that worked out fine, and it did okay. I never had an issue with putting too much pressure on the string with my nose. And so I designed these, which if you look in the link below, I'm gonna make the design files available for you. But they're just a little bit softer. See if I can get this to focus. Anyways, but there's one of them here. This is made out of a TPU rubber, so it's a little bit softer. I have it in a plastic version as well, right here. Okay, and basically this is a little bit softer version of that, and so it doesn't have quite the sharp point, but you can still definitely feel whenever you're making contact with it. And of course the one that I have on my bow right now as well, which is the Apex Predator Outdoors logo. And I've got that in several different types in a couple of different colors too. This one has this extra little post here on top for tying into your string. So if you're interested in some of these, then you know, let me know. So if you haven't played around with the nose button yet and you're interested, I'll put the links for the files down below so you can make one yourself if you're into 3D printing. Or if you contact me on Instagram at apex_predator_od, I can actually make some and have them shipped to you. So that's one of the most important things that really helped me get to this, was having a consistent anchor point, one being my jaw, two being my nose button on my string, and then the third thing that really helped me become consistent here, to the point where I could take my peep out of my bow, was to have the IQ Define Pro bow sight here, and it has this Retina lock technology. And so what this allows me to do is to make sure that I'm consistent with my draw and with everything. So if I draw back and my anchor points are not consistent, if my head position in relation to that sight is not the same, then I will see that circle change. I'll show you a little picture of what that looks like here. I did the video. I'll put a link up above for the video that I did about the IQ Define Pro bow sight. But having these three things together helped me really become consistent with my anchor points so that I could take the peep out of the string, and I know that I'm going to be anchored the same, and I'm going to have the same shot from shot to shot. So again, I draw back, anchor number one, anchor number two, I'm looking at my sight, it's lined up, and execute the shot. So it's pretty much as simple as that. So the pros and cons of going peepless on your bow. Some of the pros are that, first of all, it's one less thing to think about. For me, as soon as I took that peep sight out of there, my target panic completely disappeared. I mean, not existent anymore. It really, honestly, in my opinion, saved archery for me, because I was at the point where I was so frustrated with it. I was having all these issues. I was thinking that I was having tuning issues with my bow, but really what it was is I was just not consistent there. I tried peeps, the 3/16, I tried the 5/32, or whatever it is, I can't remember the numbers, but I tried different peeps, different sizes. I tried one with a post on it, the what was that thing called, the radical peep, or I had the radical peep, I had there's another peep, it's like it had a little post on it, kind of like a gun sight, but again, it didn't actually fix the problem for me. So I still had the target panic, I still had the issues lining everything up, but again, the thing that saved me was making sure I have a nose button here, and that started with the Bowmar Archery nose button. Now it's advanced to, me making my own nose buttons here. That, and having this line of sight with this IQ Define bow sight to make sure that I can commit the same shot every time. The first thing you do, I'll take my glasses off so you can see. It's very bright outside today. First thing you need to do is to make sure that your anchor is consistent, okay? Make sure everything's lined up perfectly. So how this will work is whenever you're tuning your bow, whenever you're getting everything set up, come in and draw with your eyes closed. And this is how you're going to find where you need to put the nose button on the string, okay? It should feel natural so that every time you draw back, it can be consistent. So I'm going to draw back, okay? I got my eyes closed, feel my anchor one, and I should touch it right there. So you can see I've got mine in the right position, because whenever I'm anchoring there with my nose to the string, I can see right there. So if that didn't feel natural, or if I was up here, then I would need to move that nose button up here. But whenever I draw, my eyes closed, I settle in, that's exactly where it feels natural. And so as long as that process right there is repeatable again, honestly guys, you don't need the bow sight. Sorry, the peep sight. Alright, Predator, so this is me. I was editing the video and I kind of wanted to just come back to you and tell you a couple things about this that I was thinking about. And one of the things I wanted to relate this to is to traditional archery. So whenever you're using a traditional bow, or let's say like a recurve bow like I've got here, one thing you do whenever you're drawing and shooting is, I don't have a sight on this and I don't really need a sight on it, but I just make sure that my anchor point is correct here, right? Make sure the arrow's coming out of the bow in the correct way. I make sure that my fingers are touching the string at the same point, and then basically what I do is I draw back, I get my anchor point correct, and then the rest is kind of just instinctual, right? So I, again, draw, anchor, and then I release the arrow. I don't aim nearly as long as I do with a compound bow, because usually when you're aiming for a long time, it's because you're trying to line up that peep sight to the sight mounted to the riser. So, but with a traditional bow, again, I make sure this is set up correctly. I make sure my anchor on the string, or where I'm holding the string and drawing, is the same. I make sure it's touching my nose at the same point, and then I just instinctively shoot the arrow, and I kind of know where it's going to go by shooting this multiple times. Again, with a compound bow though, I've got a sight mounted to it, so I can be a little bit more accurate. I rely a little bit less on instinct and a little bit more on my confidence in my setup. So I know that my sight is sighted, when my sight is sighted in, I know that I've got a definite anchor point here where my nose needs to touch every time, and my draw, whenever it's right here, I'm going to be a lot more confident in my setup, and it's going to make shooting without a peep a lot better. So again, a peep sight is again another visual anchor point that I use whenever I'm shooting this traditional bow. Again, I have my anchor on the string to my nose, and then I use, it's kind of a point just about half an inch away from the tip of my arrow that I kind of just know visually where to point at to aim and help me aim a little bit. But again, there's a little bit of instinct or a little bit of trust involved in this process. That's why people that are new to this or they're scared about trying it out, I really recommend you just start by trying it. Like if you get a new string put on, be like, okay, Hank, don't transfer the peep sight just yet. Let me try shooting without a peep for a little bit. But I suggest you just try it out, and I can almost guarantee that you're going to enjoy it. One of the great benefits of it, now you don't have to worry about peep twist. You draw your bow and you shoot. Again, it's one less thing to think about. Makes your life so much more simple. And again, for me, honestly, it saved archery. So, how accurate is it? That's the next thing people are going to say. Well, don't you lose some accuracy and things like that? Well, if you go back and watch my last video, I'll put it up here. I did a review of the easy vanes, which by now you might have known are some of my favorite vanes that I've ever tested. In that video, I shot 100 yards with no peep on there. And like I said, a lot of you noticed that in the comments, but no peep, 100 yards, I landed it. So here's what we're going to do next. Next, I'm going to prove to you that you can be just as accurate without a peep sight, but we're going to shoot 150 yards with no peep sight on my Martin Max 33 bow. So I love this bow. It's a great quiet bow, super accurate, it's super consistent. That wind is something else, man. But I've got gas Ghost XV bowstrings on here, and so I know that these strings are consistent. I know that my bow is consistent with shooting, so now I just need to make sure that I myself am consistent whenever I'm shooting. So let's go out there and let's shoot some arrows. Alright guys, 150 yards, no peep. Definitely not a kill shot on this animal here, but you know, it hit the target, which is just a big yellow and black dot at 150 yards. So I'm really impressed with the outcome of this here. I think about 150 yards as far as I could reach out really with this setup that I got going right now with these arrows and everything. So at 150 yards, I'm actually having to use the bubble, the middle of the bubble, as an aiming point there. So I kind of put the target right on underneath, or sorry, right on top of the bubble there, and then I just raise the bubble into the middle of the target there and shoot. So 150 yards, no peep, still accurate, and having a good time, guys. Well, thanks guys for watching this video, and if you got to this point, I wanted to thank you specifically for you know, sitting down and watching this with me. What I want you to do is, if you made it this far in the video, comment down below "defy the odds" with an exclamation point, and I want you to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll enter you guys into a little drawing where I'm going to give you a free set of the nose buttons that I 3D printed here. You can try out in a couple different materials. some target pins, and I'll even throw in some zinger fletches for you to try out. So again, guys, thanks so much for watching the video. Thanks for subscribing to the channel, and as always, keep defying the odds.